Good evening, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed your morning workshop. I'm Manar Jaffrey, a student of Year 2 of the BDES program in Humanizing Technology. On behalf of NMIMS School of Design, I extend a warm welcome to parents, faculty, and students. I formally welcome the speaker for today, Mr. Arnab Mitra. As a part of the rollout of the new academic year, NMIMS School of Design conducts a week-long orientation program titled DFutura, the Future of Design. This time, the program is conducted online for the fifth batch of BDES Humanizing Technology. DFutura stands for the futuristic view of design, showcasing its transitory, collaborative, and technology-driven nature. The program comprises speaker sessions and workshops that hope to inspire the students as well as open a window to their 4-year journey at the school. We continue with the Get Inspired Talk series, a part of the DFutura orientation program, inspiring talks to broaden our horizons. Since this is a virtual event, we request you to kindly mute your microphones and switch off your videos. However, questions are most welcome. Please type your questions in the chat section. We will be taking them at the end. The more you question, the more you explore. Without much ado, let me introduce Mr. Arnab Mitra. Mr. Arnab Mitra is a first generation entrepreneur of the Indian advertising and tech industry. Stay tuned as he takes us on the exciting journey of his experience of 15 years in the world of strategizing and marketing for multinational brands like Samsung, Research in Motion, Volkswagen, General Motors, Red Bull, Emirates, Citibank, ICICI Bank, etc. Having been awarded an Impact Power 100 in the year 2013 and 2016, the 100 most influential people in media in India, Mr. Arnab will be enlightening us on the insightful topic assetization of ideas. He has also founded the first marketing company in Asia called Liquid Asia. Digibox, Arnav's brainchild, is India's first digital asset management platform and public cloud, as his latest venture Digibox is a COVID baby to help Indians go completely paperless. Today, Mr. Arnab Mitra will talk about assetization of ideas. Look forward to an engaging session. Mr. Arnab Mitra, the virtual stage is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Manar. Thank you, School of Designs. Thank you, everybody, for attending this session. Honestly, Manar spoke a lot of things about me, which I wasn't personally aware of. But thank you so much. Uh, I when I was just having a chat with Ma'am, a couple of minutes back from your school, and one of the thing that I wanted to understand that when you are kind of doing these sessions where you all are kind of expecting people like me to come from outside and provide you with a path, provide you with some examples, provide you with ideas which can essentially craft your journeys as individuals as you step out and start being part of this great industry that we have been part of. One thing that stood out is how fantastic each one of you are as individuals, and and how you guys are extremely responsive, and how you guys are always ready to learn a new thing, etc. So today, when unfortunately for me, I have been actually planning to join you guys since the last year, but things weren't really didn't go the way I was expecting last year too. But and we all know why it's happened that way. But I'm glad that this year we could do this session. I actually thought of kind of making this session more about my journey, more about the brands that I've handled. I have, as Manar mentioned, I have been part of great organizations before I jumped into entrepreneurship, and during that time I've been extremely lucky to literally craft marketing strategies for global brands across geographies, including India, of course. Samsung being one of them. So I can with a lot of pride say that from Samsung Galaxy S1 to Note 3, everything that you see in between, almost a good 3.5 4 years, the peak period of Samsung taking over, as one of the largest smartphone companies. I actually I actually played a very, very significant role in that. And it's also the same time I was also taking part in another business, which also Manar mentioned, called Research in Motion, RIM. I don't know how many of you remember. I'm being told that some of the parents of the students have also joining. I think they would remember. Research in Motion actually used to create a phone called BlackBerry. I'm sure you guys would remember that. Now, this is something that I keep on talking about. So I was part of two organizations. One was Samsung. I had a team which was taking care of Samsung business, and I also had a team based out of Singapore, which was taking care of the BlackBerry business. And it happened so while the same team led by me actually took one brand towards the top, it was the same led by me, but we couldn't really stop or seize the downfall of Research in Motion. And that incident actually, made me believe that finally, what matters, is not the action. BlackBerry spent a lot of money. BlackBerry did a lot of great campaigns. Action Starts Here being one of the last one, which was for BlackBerry 10, BB10 as they used to call it. But it never could actually become what Samsung was. And what really, really kind of mattered at that time. And I'm going to try and kind of explain this right here. And guys, just let me know. Manar, please let me know if you guys can see my screen. Okay.
Yes, sir. We
You
can see
can.
your screen.
Okay, great. So this is what I want you all to probably be with me for the next maybe 45 minutes, an hour that we speak. Like, let's take a bigger perspective today in this next. I think it's rainy season in Mumbai and across the country, but I don't know if it's raining so much across the country at this point in time. It definitely is in Mumbai. So one thing that in this rainy day, I want you guys to probably take a little broader perspective and actually think of what I'm just trying to explain. Human life, the way humans think, the way we act, or pretty much do anything, can actually be divided into two basic things, and they are nothing but ideas and decisions. These are the two basic things that actually define our life. If you look at the whole human history, go back to the Neanderthal and till today's, if you see the whole of human history, you would understand that the entire mankind can be defined by a series of ideas and decisions. And then there are ideas and then there are decisions, right? And there is an equal footing in all of this. And if you guys have any question, please feel free to write, ask me then and there, so we can probably take it there as well. But this is how I see it life. And why I'm telling this, because when I spoke about Samsung and Research in Motion, both of them had great decisions. Both of them one wanted to save their number one position of being a smartphone company, which BlackBerry was historically. Nokia was the largest mobile phone manufacturers, but BlackBerry essentially became the smartphone, the path bearer of smartphones. But then all of a sudden there is a company called Samsung, which used to only make refrigerator and television before that. But they got into this space and they became the number one. Today, they're one of the most, really, really largest forces of smartphones in the world, right? So decisions, both the companies actually had decisions. But one company had fantastic ideas and one company did not have an idea how to really connect with the human being. And that is why, despite having the same team, I had two different teams. And let me tell you, they're pretty much at par in what they did. one company went down while the other company actually rose to the top, right? So I wanted to start today's talk before we get into assetization, ideas. How do you assetize ideas? I wanted to understand and kind of explain to you that where the way I look at life, two things: ideas and decisions. Now, if you kind of look at the history, if I can kind of take you back to deeper insights, just talk about this entire bell curve, which is this primary, secondary, tertiary, three different types of tasks that I have kind of identified. Let me just put it this way: that is, and I'm not great at plotting graphs, so I will just kind of try and explain what I wanted to say. So I just noted it down, so I was reading it out. So this bell curve actually represents more quantitatively than qualitatively, of course, that the number of people involved in various different types of industry. So what is a primary industry, what is a secondary industry, and what is a tertiary industry? Okay, so assuming the fact that you all are from tier 1 cities, and the fact that you guys are coming from an urban environment, or you guys have access to internet and the leisure to go through a mindless rambling of me, whatever right now, I can say yes that most money earning people, or like from the families that we all come from, we're all from the tertiary sector, which essentially mean either from banking or from finance or consultancy or computers or electronics, management, or other such sundry white collared industries. So we're all from this tertiary segment of industries. And then there are like I can safely assume that 9 out of 10, of you have never really given this a thought. And that is why this talk today about that, what exactly does your dad do? What exactly does that brother of yours, cousin brother does, or that uncle of yours, or grandfather did, or sister, or aunt, or mother really does at work? Like we all know, like pretty much I knew that my father worked for a government organization called Food Corporation of India, but I never really gave this a thought that what exactly does he do when he went to his office, right? But try asking them, and this is a very, very good exercise, that try figuring out that what way do they really impact the lives of human beings. Most of us actually don't. From someone who designs cars to an architect who designs houses, or from someone who's an accountant who checks out the employee salaries, or the cashier who finally kind of hands out that salary every month, or the software developer who fixes bugs in that code, to the guy who designs a new wristwatch. And I know all of you are design students. They may be, they may revel in the knowledge that they build is being used by thousands or millions of human beings, but really, to what extent are they affecting human lives? Think of this, okay? Then and think of this, that the car owner or the flat dweller, does he appreciate the architect, or and when I'm in the car, am I appreciating that, oh, this automobile designer done some fantastic work, or the house that we're living in, that the architect did such fantastic, great work, do you remember the name of the person who hands you cash at the bank, window every month, or I mean, not now, but yesteryears? Does anyone ever silently thank that app developer every time their nifty little software on their phone does something amazing? Like every time when you ordered something on Amazon, did you actually thank the developer who made that program? So what do people remember and think about and talk about then, right? And we all hear this, and I will also probably say this, and many talks in our examples. What do people remember and think about and talk about them? People talk about how Warren Buffett says, don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. People think how Henry Ford brought the assembly line to car manufacturing and brought cars to each household. People think about Steve Jobs. People think about Bill Gates, Larry Page, or even including today's Sundar Pichai, right? We all think of these people and their speeches and how they visualize a smarter tomorrow, a connected world, It is because people who come up with ideas are the ones people who are remembered. And then they are mentioned previously, and while those mentioned previously, are just executing set of binary decisions, so what happens is people only remember people who have thought about a better future, who have thought about a better tomorrow. And everybody else, that architect, that cashier, that automobile designer, that anybody that we spoke about, all of those guys are not really spoken about, because they are actually performing an act which is a binary act, which can be actually replaced by machines tomorrow. And that brings me to a very important part in saying, then what is so common about all these great people? Why do we remember them? Because all of them, like a Warren Buffett or a Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Larry Page or Jack Ma or Sundar Pichai, all these guys, one thing common about them, or even Mark Zuckerberg, right? They all have ideas. Any questions so far? Anybody, any question? It's a very important, break that I want to ask everybody, that if you have any questions, if anybody had any questions. Okay, great. So this is exactly where, this entire talk that I, kind of planned for you all. This is where I want to take a break and, explain to you that as human beings, we actually need, for our existence, we need to realize our single largest gift. And that is that we can actually formulate ideas. We need to understand that while automation takes over the world, artificial intelligence can only take decisions, not formulate ideas. And you all are design school students, so you guys are really the flag bearers of tomorrow, and the jobs and everything else that's going to be created for you cannot be replaced by machines. Hence, no machine can ever have an edge over us, only and only if we focus on ideas. Because ideas are not just basic output of thinking. I've created this model, IDEO, because ideas are important. Ideas are something that sets us apart from a variety of other living beings on earth, right? It's only in the entire animal kingdom, it's only human beings, and if you see the higher up in the food chain, the smarter the animal is. The definition of smart is that whether they can use their brain to perform something that they're not expected to do, right? So ideas are something like that. So ideas are important. Ideas are also democratic. We are talking about an inclusive world. Ideas make us queer. Ideas make us do strange things, inexplicable in nature, and also sometimes totally illogical. So that means ideas are also democratic, right? And O, which is as in occlusive, it also protects the moisture in our brain cells. It also gives that electric charge that our brains actually need to function properly. So ideas, so as you can see that make you somebody that people talk about, ideas are extremely important for us to move forward. But here is also another thing that I want you guys to kind of understand, that ideas actually need to dissociate from decisions. Ideas need to dissociate from decisions. If you must have heard this multiple times, Zuckerberg mentioning this multiple times, that how he actually wears the same colored t-shirt and same pair of denim every day, right? And he actually talks about that, how it helps him save time from decision making. And we actually know a lot of people in our industry, who are continuously wearing the same clothes, upgrading same system just because there is a system upgrade, having the same restaurant, sitting in the same chair, pretty much performing the same thing, which is binary in nature, but actually giving a lot more time to thinking, right? Because if you really think about this, you will realize that decisions are binary. Decisions are logical, and if you actually realize that the things that are binary and logical do not need the explicit services of a human brain. Okay, and I'll try and explain this. What is computer programming really? Breaking down everything into binary decisions and defining certain rules. That's what softwares are. Programs are governed by if-else statements that are essentially binary, and switch statements that are just an aggregation of if-else statements. And then you rinse, repeat, reiterate, recurse, and you create a software. But at an even basic level, everything that is automated, everything that is electronic is binary. 0 or high, 0 or 1, high or low. So that is, exactly what it is. So if you, every time that an idea that comes to you, and if that idea comes to you that says task A can be done better with the help of tool X, that starts with an occupation called task B of producing tool X, you actually have to tell yourself that, hey, you know what, this idea can be replaced by a mathematics and an algorithm, and an automated electronic process, a binary decision-making system that allows us to, kind of make that decision-making automated. But here comes something that you probably have been just starting to hear, and we have been hearing it for a very, very long time out in the world. They say ideas have no value, right? And right before this, I was talking about how ideas are great, how people who have, got great ideas have been spoken about. Then why do people say that ideas have no value? And honestly, I actually have to agree that what they say actually is right. Because I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but ideas are honestly worthless. A dime a dozen is at least, an order of magnitude too much value for an idea. Ideas have no value. Assets have value. I don't know if you can see this graph. There is an idea which becomes a product, the product that becomes a business, and then it becomes an asset. Right? So yes, of course, start with an idea, but the gulf between idea and the product is astronomical. Often the idea is not yours. Instead it comes from your customers or daily interactions, or better yet, you need this as you go about building and executing your business. So clearly, right? So ideas don't have values, but assets actually have ideas. And that is exactly where, this entire presentation is, how do we assetize your ideas? I actually have a very three-step, process, extremely clear three-step process. And how do we transform every ideas, that has to become, that you think can become an asset? And it's true, right? They say that the best product companies actually eat their own dog food before they put it up to their customers, which are dogs, right? So how do you transform your ideas to assets? And that is something that, that is something we want to, kind of focus. If you look at today's emerging fields like computer science, data science, financial analysis, biotechnology, there will be tasks which are menial and repetitive and crude as farming or hunting. In the future, when the aforementioned, moves into a quaternary or a quinary field of production, today we actually stand at the brink of that fourth wave, and it's an amusing coincidence that the world of computers are to be, are said to be moving from third generation, which are microprocessors, fourth generation to fifth generation, which are basically AI, while telecommunication technologies are on the brink of shifting to fourth generation LTE. Today we stand, and we stand where the peak of the bell curve, is on the juncture of that third and fourth field of production. And that is exactly where we need to, kind of put our head and understand that what am I building as an idea student, as an idea school student? What are you building? And when you're designing a product, every time that you design, do you design because you like to design that, or do you design because you are actually defining your customers, you're actually, producing something which is defining the customer's need, then how do we move to the next level, which is basically to build a business by identifying customers, with a schedule, and then you're actually building an asset from customers with your schedule and budget. So when you're looking at your ideas, first question that you ask yourself, that is it inward out or outward in? Now, what does it mean? Are you actually keeping in mind that, okay, every time I have an idea, is it solving a customer's need? Is it actually creating or providing a platform which is actually going to solve a problem? Is it actually an idea that can be scaled up? Is it an idea that can actually be assetized, right? And I'll give a simple example in my next slide. And this time I will actually have to ask questions to people. We all know this company, right? McDonald's, right? We all are aware of this company. Can any of you tell me what is the idea and what is the assetization of that idea? What is the great idea of McDonald's business? Anybody can raise a hand, and maybe Manar can allow them to speak.
We have an answer from Tanaya.
Mm-hmm.
Global chain of restaurants.
Okay. If I tell you that it's actually an incorrect answer, okay. Somebody said fast service. Shriya Nachiket is actually landlording. Okay. Isha said food for all. Fast food anywhere. Okay. Ashavari said that. Anybody else? Any other answer? Okay, so I'll take these answers. I think all of you all are right. I'll just try and kind of tweak this a little bit. So what happens is McDonald's said that we are going to create fast, or we're going to create burgers in less than a minute's time, right? And I'm sure you guys must have seen the movie as well, which is widely believed is from McDonald's real story. But they said we are going to produce burgers in less than a minute's time, right? So that's the idea. But what is the assetization of the idea? The assetization of idea is that they went and said, you know what, we are going to create restaurants which are going to sell burgers under $1 and burgers in less than 1 minute, and we are going to charge the owner of the asset as a rent. So what did was, so their business, though most of us actually rightly pointed out that most of us actually believe that it's a QSR, it's a quick service restaurant. But honestly, the entire assetization of idea was that real assets, which are actually real shops, which are real restaurants, physical locations, which were actually utilized to kind of create that particular idea, and how we can move it to an assetized format. So if I can just take you guys back to what I was saying, that so if you take this McD's example, and from that if you are connecting back to transforming your ideas, you see at that time American restaurants had a huge waiting time. American restaurants was actually creating food which were not really could be which was actually crafted to people not what people want, but what the chef actually wanted to create. But America at that point in time was going through a massive globalization. They actually wanted everything really, really fast. They actually wanted everything that would create a new taste in their mind, and that is how McD's came into the picture. But the underlying assetization of this idea was that can we utilize spaces which are already lying and actually come up with something on top of it which actually creates value out of that empty space. So in simple words, if you see that your ideas and how the ideas actually transfer to assets, they're not really so much connected. So that's why I was just, actually getting back to this part, which is, that how ideas need to dissociate from decision making, right? If any of you can, I was actually mid hypothesis, but this is where I think ideas actually set us apart, right? As I was saying that ideas, our decision makings are pretty much binary and logical. So do you also realize that the, whatever that are binary and logical, does not really need the human brain. So let's talk about decisions first. Now, because we often hear from people that decisions are hard to make. You all will be at the brink of your career where you don't know whether you want to become a designer, or you want to join a corporate job, or you want to start a business, etc., etc. So I want to take this situation and say, okay, and take on this moment itself, I'm going to discuss that decisions are often hard to take, right? Because sometimes we know some decisions become right, some decisions are, go wrong. But then again, are they really hard to take? Can they be right and wrong and do always have a fair chance? I believe no. I believe that decisions are not at all as complex as we tend to think they are. I believe that decisions are extremely simple. And, as a simple logic, I believe that decisions, if broken into smallest invisible unit, is composed of binary choices. And I always say this, right? There exists either an yes or no. So if you are actually, making a decision and that is related to your ideas, that is related to assetization of an idea, the simple way to go about is why don't you break down your decision into a series of small decisions that you need to take. And the moment you get down to the smallest of the decision, you will actually see that there always exists an either yes and no, absence or presence. While you may argue that there exists the maybe, and or that sometimes that we have to choose between three or some or more things, but that isn't really true. If there are more than two options, then you haven't broken down the decision into the smallest invisible unit. Say someone asks you, will you take Coke, Pepsi, or milkshake? Sounds like three options, right? But is it? Because it basically consists of three two-option questions. Pepsi, the answer is yes and no. Coke, the answer is yes and no. Milkshake, the answer is yes and no. The friends, I don't know if any of your friends are actually into programming, or any of you actually come from engineering background, would be able to understand this best. That my friends who are into programming would best understand, if I use an analogy of a binary tree. So decision making, is a process best defined by a binary tree. And if you can always break down your decision into binary trees, you will actually find that they are neither complex nor hard to take. Also, when you break down your decision into smaller binary decisions, you notice they are governed by certain logical rules, right? And if you actually, when you ask the above question, you do realize that you can ask for only one beverage. So out of those three, whether you like some Pepsi, Coke, or milkshake, I think it is very clear that somebody is hinting at that you are only supposed to have one drink only, right? Thus, as soon as one of the answer is yes, the rest automatically becomes no, right? So typically, which means when you have a decision making, when you find three different routes going and three different probably point at three different directions, you actually have 6 questions in front of you. Yes, no for each one of them. So the moment you actually took yes for one, you automatically negate all other 5, which also had 2 other yeses, right? So I think that decision making is actually, a very, very critical part. And I want to kind of, discuss my own journey here. I was working for one of the world's second largest media group called Publicis. I don't know if you're aware of the organization. And, for a large part of my journey as a marketer, or it was actually about working for the large groups. I was with, before moving to the second largest, I was with the 6th largest, and I was a regional director based out of Singapore and kind of heading 6 countries in this region. And I was actually in the juncture where I had to decide, whether I want to, what is it that, I want to do, like most of you will be at this point in time, and how will I going to do it, and whether it is right or wrong, right? And as I told you already, my father came from a service background. So of course, there is no entrepreneurial journey as such in my family to refer to. So we were always at the crossroad, of deciding, right? So I actually realized that there was a clear gap. So if I can bring you back to my slide, which I'm talking about this, that, how do you transform your ideas? Like in all the sixth largest and second largest organization in the world of media companies or advertising agencies in the world, I realized that there was a huge gap. There was a gap of anybody wanting to merge idea and media together, creative and media together, which is basically the science and the art together. And none of the companies actually had that service. So that's where I actually created my first advertising agency called Liquid Asia, which is currently, operating almost in 6 markets, 2 other countries other than India, which is Dubai and Singapore. And India have got almost, I think, 4 offices currently, so 6 offices. We house almost 150 plus people. And so the idea actually happened because I identified that what was the customer actually seeking. The customer was actually seeking one agency to do all their work. They didn't want to work with 1,000 agencies, one social media agency, one website agency, one media agency, one creative agency. They actually wanted one agency to have all services in one play, but in its true sense, where they're cohesive, where the creative is talking to media, while the media talk to tech, and the tech is probably talking with analytics to kind of provide a holistic solution. So that's how Liquid Asia was born. But it actually brings down to the point that the product that you are building, does it define the customer's need, right? So the customer's need in the advertising space was they were looking for an all-service agency which could cohesively provide them with a solution. So that is how kind of Liquid Asia was born. And then the second step, I was just saying, build a business. You understand the difference between a product and a business, right? There can be a product which is not a business, right? And so we wanted to build a business by identifying customers with schedule and budget. So when we are building a product, which was Liquid Asia as an agency, we wanted to understand when do they change their agency? How often do they change their agency? Is there a chance for a new agency to come in? Do they spend money? What kind of schedules do they have, right? And I can pretty much draw this for every possible type of business, right? So if we talk about these, they would have drawn the structure of identifying who are my customers, how often do they eat burgers, what kind of money do they want to spend, does it match their taste? So every business, you will be able to ask these questions. Similarly, if you see that third one, which says build an asset from customers with need, schedule, and budget. So you are actually converting, like today, what we have done is from that phase where we were identifying whether Liquid will actually be able to do business or not, we actually have been able to create a successful company, which is now running for almost 9 years, where we are now part of many customers' journey of, their marketing prowess. So that is how, we build, any business. Similarly, currently, very recently, I have started India's first public cloud solution. I don't know if any of you come across something called Digibox, which is India's first public cloud storage solution. This also eventually actually started from, identifying a customer's need. You all will be surprised to know, and I'm sure you all must be using a cloud solution, and most of you probably are by design using, say, a Google Drive, and or even if you're an iOS customer, then maybe an iCloud. You guys are actually spending, a lot of money every month just to, utilize a storage space. Now, this is my business, but I'm not really extremely, what do I say, extremely emotional about the industry that we are operating in. We understand that cloud solution is actually an extremely, extreme commodity, which people would actually like to invest once and forget about it, right? So we are actually trying to do that. Currently, Digibox is, kind of providing a lot of storage solutions. We have reached almost 1.3 million customer in 6 months time. We present eight different languages. But again, this is a product which was created basis the customer's need, that the Indian customer actually needed a product which would match their pocket, which would not give them a complex solution, which will also provide them with language support, and which will also be there, including this entire time when TikTok is banned or something else is being banned, and there's a complete data sovereignty. So there's a product that is defining from the customer's need, and actually then we kind of build a business identifying customer schedule and budget. So we actually have to, as I spoke about, that we wanted to kind of build a product which does not really pinch the pocket of a customer. So we did a study with almost 23,000 respondents, 2,300 respondents, and we identified the sweet spot of the price. Currently we are providing 100 GB of storage for 1 rupee a day, which I think by far is one of the most inexpensive cloud storage that's available. And this is a regular monthly, yearly kind of a business. So you want to actually identify, the schedule, and then you kind of, build your business around it. So yeah, so I think all in all, that's who I am. I probably have ideas that I have assetized. And thanks to you all for listening to me for the last 40 odd minutes.
Thank you, sir, for this extremely insightful session on how we can transform our ideas into assets. And now we can take up the questions. If anyone has any questions, they can type it in the chat box.
Sure.
So meanwhile, until the others are typing, I had one question. So
Sure.
I was just wondering what led to the ideation of Digibox. I mean, what made you think that India needs its own cloud storage platform, and it's high time we stop relying on other countries for it?
Great question, Mar. Thank you for asking that. I think it all started with again, I think it's a I'll try and explain. So when COVID happened, most of us actually had to stop going to office. And in a group, we have almost 800 people working across 14 offices. Now it happened so that the IT guys didn't do their job the way they're supposed to, back up files, etc., etc. And we were in need of many files which were important for our business, but they were not to be found because they were probably in office servers, etc. Right? And then we wanted to create, or we wanted to actually partner with somebody like an Oracle or Amazon to actually use their services to actually come up with a cloud solution. While we're doing that, and I don't know if all of you are aware, so there are various services, like there is a SaaS, then there is an IaaS, and then there is PaaS. SaaS is software as a service, IaaS is infrastructure as a service, and PaaS is platform as a service. Now, while we looked at the price point, we realized that they are extremely expensive for a small business like us, to be able to, kind of cover the cost. And then we realized, then we kind of spoke to some of our friends in US and Europe. We realized that the same providers are actually providing similar solution at a far cheaper price point to the countries there, because their currency is stronger than ours, right? So think of it. An American SMB user, SMB owner, is actually buying cloud storage at 70 times lesser price than an Indian SMB owner like myself, right? So that's where actually the need came in. We realized that till the time we're dependent on other countries and their infrastructure, we can't possibly give a solution to our people which is very, very in sync with the market's need, right? And that is where we decided to build it ourselves. However, when we built it, when we were in the process of building it, it's not a business problem. It is actually a problem of individuals. We saw how TikTok was banned from this country. We realized that the governments are not probably in best terms. And governments don't really, like, millions of influencers have lost their career thanks to TikTok going out of the country, right? Now, what happens to them? They had built an entire universe, of theirs where they were making money. They were very happy. They're creating content, and that was really going well for themselves. But one decision from one government, and that data actually went out, out of the park, and that business went out of the park. So we realized the data sovereignty, which means that the country's ownership of their own data, is also one of the main, reason how the world is going to move forward. See, if you remember all the last wars, they were all fought for the latest one being fought for fuel. The earlier ones were all for resources. The next one, if it's ever fought, and I don't wish that it ever does, but if it does, it will be only for data, right? And India cannot become a digital country unless India actually provides a digital infrastructure of its own. So that's how the government actually supported us significantly. Niti Aayog's Amitabh Kant launched our product, and currently also we are working with them to build a great infrastructure. So yeah, so that's how Digibox was born.
All right. Thank you, sir. So Prartha from year 1 is asking, I think we all keep coming up with a lot of ideas. How do you evaluate if the idea is one which is worth assetizing and converting into a product and later a business?
Okay. Actually, I tried to give, this answer, but, this is a very, very interesting question and very, very important part, right? Your ideas have to dissociate itself from the decision making. When you're deciding whether to move forward with an idea, you will actually have to be absolutely dispassionate and pass it through certain questions. And what are these questions? The question that I actually told you, that all the decisions are actually very, very binary. So if your business idea is actually solving a very binary problem, which is basically process A getting solved by process X, and process X creating a new occupation of B, that kind of a model is not going to sustain as a business. So whenever you are trying to create something new, you will actually have to ask yourself, is this an idea or is this a decision? Because if it is decision, then it's going to be binary. Because then answers, as I said, these are all if-else statements. And then you're actually creating a product which is solving a very, very small problem, which tomorrow can be replaced by somebody else's machine. And if that happens, then that is not an idea to be investing on. Does it answer a question?
I think it does. Yes, she's written in the chat box that it does. Thank you. Do we have any more questions?
I don't think I have any more questions. So I have nicely assetized your 1 hour, 15 minutes. So you guys can utilize other than listening to me.
Yes, sir. All right. So thank you once again for this very, very engaging session. Let us end the event with a few words from our director, Professor Manisha Phadke.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you so much, Arnab, for spending the time. And as I said, it was a different take on, I think there is something wrong with my video, but with my pardon, maybe my internet is choppy, but can you hear me, Manar?
Yes, Manisha, I can hear you.
Yeah, great. Yes. So I think that was, whilst I was listening to you, I realized that in a design school, we are definitely focusing on ideation and dispassionately taking the idea forward, but we are focused on probably solutioning to a context with an added scientific backing, or maybe even the technology enabler as an enabler. But we really don't look at the concept of looking at an idea as an worthy of assetization. So I think that's a good take we can take home, and I'm sure we'll think about it a little more, and the students will probably take it up in a way that enables the designer to actually ascetize his or her idea, and that's a benefit to the designer school toolkit as well. So thank you again, and hope to see you sometime, and maybe on a virtual stage, but more than that, probably in physical premises sometime soon, if the fat tail of COVID doesn't get thin and vanish very soon. So with that said, thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Manisha ji. Thank you, Manar. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, guys. And a great career ahead. Looking forward to working with some of you this side of the table.